Alrighty traders, George here. Time for a look at the week in review. Let's jump right into it. For starters, for the subscriber trade calls that went out, there was two markets that we looked at, gold and oil. So let's take a look at what those setups were. This is the gold chart here. This is the screenshot from the video that went out. We were at 2360s here. We needed to move up a little bit more to get long and break down a little bit here to get short essentially. Not that much trading commitment below where we were, so chances for price to move down a little bit more easily than to move up. And then for oil, we had this somewhat similar where price was below a very heavily traded balance beam here, not as much trading commitment, still needing price to break higher to get long, lower to get short, and with this potential to move down quite a bit in oil with this air pocket here to this next balance beam. Also, as a side note, in training on Tuesday, not a broadcast trade call that I put out, but another great reason to be in training when we're doing it, which is Tuesdays and Thursday mornings. This is the setup that I showed you on the NASDAQ. We talked a lot about the volatility that we saw. We expected that. I talked about it through the late part of the summer. And here we come into the very start of September and boom, the range goes through the roof. Well, for the NASDAQ, we had this to work with. We had already had a big sell-off and a huge rally, and price was fading off of the rally. So we were here at 47.09s when we did this run here, and what we were looking for was price to break over 47.35s to get long with this big potential move here, and if it could get back over this level and break down, then to be short at not much lower at 27s here. So we'll take a look at how that all panned out as well. But here's how the trade calls panned out. For oil, we had this, a long trigger here that did not go in favor at all and simply rolled over and stopped out, 20 tick loss. And then the short was triggered here. The single contract trader, which is what we're focused towards in the performance series, picks up their target 1 for 44 ticks there. So that did 1 for 2 for 24 ticks, 240 per contract. But note, for you balance beam traders, you can see this target level 3 really sort of reacted with the traders here, and they tried to put in some support. They definitely went sideways here quite a bit and even had a pretty big bounce off of that level. But your target 2 and target 3 picking up an extra hefty amount there if you're a multi-contract balance beam trader. Single contract trader though, 240 bucks, 1 for 2. For gold, we had this. We had a break higher here that was stopped at a 10-cent loss there. We had another trade over this level that went to target, but that was out of the series for the single contract trader. And then we had this breakdown here at 21.50s that made a beeline to target 1 with a fair amount of overshoot there. So that picks up $6.40 there. So this did 1 for 2 for $6.30, 630 per contract. And the way that looks on our balance beam spreadsheet is this. These guys down here. So we're basically at a 50% win rate on 4 trades total and picking up another 870 bucks for the week, also moving us to yet another new equity high on the year at $62,054 there. This is all based on a single contract approach here for the subscriber series for the balance beam signals. Okay. Now, as a sidecar to this whole presentation here, I want to show you something, because if you were in training on Tuesday, what I showed you on the NASDAQ is some great belief building coming from seeing this happen live as I do the run through on the chart, and you can see what happened afterwards, which is just literally a matter of days after. So here's the NASDAQ chart, and here's those levels that I talked about, basically 47.35 and 47.27.75 there. All I've done here is just to point out a couple of excursions that have happened over these levels. So breaking down here, price moved in favor 6 points, 7 points, here 11 points, and breaking higher here. This is a 5-point range right here, finally making it up 32 points maximum favorable excursion and hitting the target level. And then coming through this area here, it went up 89 points and hit target 1 and 2. So all in all, in just a matter of days, from what we looked at on the balance beam, this did over 150 points in the NASDAQ in terms of maximum favorable excursion, and it did about 90 points in terms of hitting 3 target levels, 2 target 1s and 1 target 2. But all in all, this is all based on the same thing that we look at every week, every month, all the time, which is simply the balance beam chart. That's it. If you want to get these trade calls in advance before these moves happen, sign up. Use the link at the bottom of this video and you can get the email alerts for when these trades set up and be a part of these nice moves. And if you actually want to use the balance beam chart and become a balance beam trader, you can do that as well. Simply follow the link that's part of this video. All right, gang, have a fantastic weekend. We'll see you back in training on Tuesday.